Hi, everybody. Welcome to Life Stories. I'm so glad that you're here. Today on the podcast, I speak with Lynne Bowman, who wrote a cookbook called Brownies for Breakfast. Honestly, I thought when I read the cookbook, it was going to be about lots of sweets and ways to get around using sugar. And that is nothing what the cookbook is about. Lynne talks about her life in the beginning and how she got to the point of wanting people to understand how important it is what you put in your bodies. Yes, there are great recipes, and yes, there are recipes with sweets, but it's really a focus on community, it's a focus on eating, and it's a focus on our word of the week.
It's the word of the week.
Our word of the week is table. Lynne talks about setting the table for people to come and eat, and it's not about being fancy, and it's not about even having fancy food, but how important it is to sit at the table to eat with your family or your friends. It's important to create a space where people feel comfortable and invited and welcomed, because so much more happens around the dinner table than just eating food. And her cookbook is great. Her recipes are gorgeous, and I've got several already marked that I'm going to make. But it's more than just about the food. It's about what we do when we eat and why we're eating and the good things that we need to put in our body. We also talked about lots of other things. This conversation went all over the place. It was so much fun to talk to Lynne. And I hope that you'll enjoy this conversation. I hope that you'll get her book. I promise it's not just about brownies. It's not just about eating sweets. It's about so much more. And I think I resonated with what she talked about so much because I love having people in my home to eat. And I love to cook, but I love having people in my home. I love creating a space where people feel comfortable and welcomed. And that's a lot of what she's doing in this book. So listen to our conversation, go get her book, download it. It's even on Audible, and you will really enjoy listening to Lynne talk about her life. Thanks for being here. I hope you have a great day. Hi, Lynne.
I don't even want to talk to you.
You don't?
No, because yeah, looking at the whole list of the fabulous people you have
Oh,
interviewed,
gosh.
they're giving away, they're doing all these amazing things, and I don't have
You
501.
do. Your cookbook is doing amazing things.
I
Any,
hope
any
it will, but
No, it will. I believe it will. I read it. My hair is sticking out right here. I don't know what it's doing.
yeah.
Um, Anytime I have a guest on who has written any kind of a book, I have to read the book first, because I don't feel like it's fair to the author, and I don't feel like it's fair to people listening to promote something that I don't know anything about. So that's why I got your book first. And honestly, it surprised me because I thought, okay, brownies for breakfast. It's for a cookbook for diabetics and the people who love them. So it's going to be lots of sweet treats and how to change the sweetener in it. And it was nothing like what I was expecting. And I told my husband, I was laughing a lot through. I mean, I read the whole first part. I said, this lady is a hoot. I can't wait to talk to her because I just was cracking up. You are just so funny. But it really pleasantly surprised me. It really did. Um,
When you give a title to your book, there's all kinds of stuff that figures into it, and it's a little bit marketing. You want people to be attracted to it and so on. But I do understand that people immediately are going to go, okay, sweets, that's it.
right, right.
Uh,
That's not
but
what it's all about, though. You have, some great resources besides explaining why you think people need to eat healthy and how you can do it. And it's not just about the cooking. What I loved is I love to cook and I love hospitality. I love having people over. I love having my house full of people that are eating and just talking and, hanging out or whatever. I love that. That makes my heart very happy. And I know you do too, because of how you explained what all you do. So I love that part. But you explain how to read a label. People don't know how to read labels. They think low fat. Oh, it must be good for me.
yeah, yeah.
Gluten free must be good for me. We don't know how to read labels. So you've got stuff like that in there, just great resources in it. But I want you to tell me why you wrote it, because writing cookbooks was not the dream of your life.
No,
No. So why did you write that cookbook?
because it seemed crazy to me that so many people are not only dying, and Dying is not the worst thing that ever happens to you, by far.
Right.
But so many people are dying from a preventable disease.
Mhm.
And worse than that, they are suffering for a long time. Their families are suffering,
Right.
and they are going broke as a result because America.
Yeah,
That's how we do things.
exactly. People have to eat every day. So what you're doing is important. It's very important. And I love cookbooks. Whenever my husband and I, several years ago, our kids are all grown now, but when they were younger and we would go on a date on Friday night, this is our fancy dates. We would go out to eat and then we would go to Barnes and Noble and get coffee. And he would go sit and look at football magazines and I would go sit and read cookbooks. Like that's just what we did. I love to read
Love
cookbooks.
bookstore too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah.
To him, that's torture. He doesn't like to read. And, but to me, it's just, I could stay in bookstores for hours.
Well,
Um,
I'm a book lover too. And
yeah,
I'll tell you also, Sharon, that I
yes,
listened to your episode about your grandma.
you did.
And
The one I
yes,
cried through the entire thing.
yes, I'm a crier too, just so you know.
Yeah.
Um, I get it, but that's on my mind so much because I now have three grandchildren.
Hmm.
One is all the way across the country in North Carolina, new baby.
Yeah.
And then my little almost 3-year-old is in Reno, Nevada. And I'm sorry, he's the cutest child that ever lived in the entire universe. Just without, there's no
Right.
question about it.
Right.
And then my 16-year-old granddaughter is just 4 miles up the road.
Oh, that's
And
nice.
it is nice. And I thought about that so much because we've been together,
Hmm.
all this time. And you made me think about, one of the worst things that ever happened to me was when my grandparents moved away when I was 11. They lived across the
Yeah.
street. And I was brought up at a time when you didn't have feelings. No one paid the least bit of attention to anybody's feelings.
Right.
And I can remember looking around going, don't they're just leaving me and they don't care and they're not, what the heck is with these grown-ups? They're just walking away. They're
Yeah.
leaving. They didn't understand that in my little 11-year-old mind, they were abandoning me.
Right.
I had had breakfast virtually every morning of
Oh,
my little
wow.
life with them.
Oh.
My dad was the man who was kind and sweet to me. He
Hmm.
was that I held chickens with and picked
Oh.
berries with. And, he just, I've got his picture behind me on the wall.
Oh, yeah.
But grandparents, and now here I are one,
Yes.
and it's so weird to think that I'll be the one they'll be telling stories about.
Hmm.
Um, and my son, who is the father of the new baby, and this is his first, and so of course, this is the best baby ever born in the entire
Right.
universe. Father who ever had a baby in the entire
Right.
universe, all good. But it's interesting because all of a sudden he's saying different things to me, like, Ma, you're legendary. I mean, we're going to be talking about you. What? He said, well, you went to Elvis shows, you rode the bus with
Yeah.
Jennings, you did all this stuff, which when you're doing it, you don't think it's ever going to be history.
Right.
And it's becoming history.
It's becoming history. Yeah. I will say, and this has nothing to do with your cookbook or anything else, but I did see that you worked with Deidre Hall. And so I have told all my friends, I am talking to a lady on my podcast who knows Marlena Evans.
Okay. So are you a fan? Do you watch this show?
Well, I haven't watched it in years, but Days of Our Lives was my show. Like everybody knows Marlena. Who doesn't, know her? So anyway, that has just cracked me up because I've told everybody about it. Your cookbook really did. I think I loved it so much because of how much you talked about hospitality and you talked about even how to set a space to be inviting for people. And it's not like you have to have this fancy table and you have to have fancy furniture. It's just about creating a space, for people to feel comfortable. And I wrote down one of your quotes because I just love this. And this is me. You said, when we sit around with family and friends, I hope they feel they can laugh too loud or spill their juice or wine and it's perfectly fine. That's what I want. I want people to feel so comfortable that they can just be themselves. And what happens when we do that? When we sit and visit with people, when it's no matter what it is, no matter what food it is, whatever we've created, what happens when we do that? Do you think?
Oh, I know what happens. Now, are we recording? Do you
Oh
want to
yeah,
do?
and I do all my own editing, so I can edit out any kind of chitter
It's fine.
chatter. Yeah, yeah.
Because the way I see this is I'm just getting to sit with someone on a bus that is wonderful and we're going to talk and
That's what I want. That's the most wonderful compliments I have gotten is that it sounds like you're just sitting talking to a friend in your living room, and that's what I want. So yes, I do my own
we're
editing. I
not
can edit
living
anything out.
in the kitchen. We are in the kitchen, you and
That's
me.
right. That's right.
Um, and you can see behind, this is my studio that we're in, and this
Yeah.
is my daughter's latest quilting project.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Pretty
and
colors.
for some, I feel like I have so much I need to cram in and tell you.
You have all the time in the world, so you tell me whatever you want.
Good. Okay, and I need to tell you that my middle child, my daughter who's up the road, is just a few months into a new graduate program. She's going to get another master's degree at Berkeley in real estate development.
Wow.
And that might not seem like an amazing thing to a lot of people, but of course she's a mother and so on. But we have not had women designing our towns and our homes.
Right.
We have been forced to live in situations which were created, designed by men who had never picked up their underwear, let alone washed dishes
Right.
or anything. And I mean, and man, I love you. I've been married to a number of you, and I think you, uh, including my husband
Right.
now of 30 plus years, who's
Awesome.
excellent, excellent. Um, and yes, ladies, you can do this. They're out there.
Yeah.
You got to look, you got to make some mistake.
Yeah.
But the fact that you will have such brilliant women thinking about your homes, your
Yeah.
space, your community, your village, and it goes back to eating together in a
Mhm.
big way. I was fascinated to go look at new homes that had no place for a table. Not only had they eliminated a dining room, no dining room, which I get, I
Right.
understand, but there was no place in the plan for sitting together and eating. There was a bar.
Wow.
And so a lot of what I have been raging about and talking about in my book and elsewhere is please, we should not be eating out of a paper bag in the back
Yeah.
of a car or behind a steering wheel. And I want you to sit at a table not only with your friends and enemies in some cases, also very
Mhm.
important.
Yeah.
Feed them; they'll change their tune. Trust me. Especially if you use some good recipes out of my book.
That's right.
Anyway, your children
Yeah.
need to be sitting at the table with you,
Yeah.
and they need to be setting the table, and they need to be cleaning up afterwards. And I just spent a few days with my 3-year-old grandson in Reno, Nevada. And at that age, they want so much to help. They want to empty the
Mhm.
dishwasher. They want to set the table. They want to bring the chair across the room. They want his favorite thing, the vacuum.
Oh
He
yeah.
loves to vacuum. And
Yes.
I mean, come on,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, train them up right, girls. There's
Absolutely.
still little people who are enthusiastic about it. Do not send 17, 18-year-olds out into the world who, and I don't care what college they're going to or what, pursuit they're following or whatever, don't send them out there without the ability to run a washing machine.
Right. Yeah,
Not
I did.
fair.
My daughter, you're reminding me of how proud I am of my daughter because she has two girls and they do help with everything. They do help emptying the dishwasher and picking, taking the plates off the table, and they do help with all of that. My son, my oldest son, I did a little disservice with him when he was at my house. He did chores, but he probably didn't do enough because anyway,
No,
he
it's a
knows now. I mean, he moved out and he had to figure it out.
it's a cultural change.
It
We are
is.
beginning finally to expect more of
Right.
our male children.
Yeah.
And I think this is your generation, particularly of moms and now becoming grandmas.
Yeah.
You've wound up doing it all.
Mm-hmm.
My daughters, same thing.
Yeah.
They are doing it all.
Yeah.
And their husbands are trying, but their husbands don't know how
Yeah.
to do so many of those things. They don't know how to even be present around some of those things, to be
Yeah.
aware that those things even happen. So we
Well,
don't have to go off in a whole anthropological thing here, but it's such a change in so many homes and villages
yeah.
and towns, and uh, we don't talk about it enough, I think, in a really constructive way. But women like yourself, I mean, I was a single mom,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and I had to leave an abusive marriage when my kids were 2, 3, and 4.
Wow.
And that kind of connects in a few ways. And I'll just say that he was a Marine who
Mm.
had come back to Vietnam and was destroyed in
Yeah.
a way that you would not see until he'd been back for a while. And then he just fell apart
Yeah.
into addiction and PTSD and all the things that you've maybe read about. But again, it's kind of sliding back into history now. And we're repeating the same mistakes, not treating veterans when they come back from war like injured people, and they are injured in desperate ways, just awful ways.
Right.
So my part of that was that I had 3 little ones, and I was thrilled to be a mom and thrilled to have little ones 2, 3, and 4. But we were going to die if we stayed with him,
Right.
and so we had to leave. So, like many moms, single mom, the difference was I knew how to work. I had work experience, and I fortunately landed. My one sister said, "You can live in my driveway. I have a camper, and you can live in my driveway," which I did with my kids for not a long time, but until I could get my feet on the ground, matter of weeks. But that was 1980 in the Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
So, you know what I'm saying? There was
Yeah.
all this business blossoming, all this stuff, and they didn't have anyone to do marketing, advertising. And I was a writer and had worked in advertising agencies. I liked that date too. I worked my first full-time job in an advertising agency, Los Angeles, 1966. And you go, oh my God, it's before the dawn of time, And of course, oh, Mad Men. Yes, that exactly. I wore those clothes. I said those words. I had those lunches.
Wow.
That exactly. They nailed it. So anyway, I landed in the Silicon Valley. So I had some skills that could be applied to the burgeoning microcomputer industry. And so I could make decent enough money, and pretty soon I could rent a place and I managed to get my feet on the ground that way. And my ex stalked us and,
Mm.
still was, very, and he ultimately took his own life
Oh
as and
gosh.
well, and I say this because so many people don't understand that more of those vets took their own lives than died in combat.
Wow.
And there are a few left. They're still struggling, but this is something we all need to own,
Mm-hmm.
I think. But we survived. That
Yeah.
was my job, was my children surviving and me surviving, and we managed to do that. So, and we have so many things we want to talk about.
Yes. Yes.
You mentioned Deidre, my friend,
Hmm.
and we met, Deidre Hall and I met in 1967, I think. We argue about exactly when, in LA. I worked for Redken Laboratories
Hmm.
and a cosmetic company, hair.
Yeah.
And I was 21 and way over my head, but everyone in the department had been fired but me. And so I was, just kind of, I thought, I can do this. Um, and the president of the company I was very fond of, a woman unusual in those times, Paula Kent, thought she was just great. So she believed in me, and we managed. So I hired models, and you would hire the model off of a head sheet,
Hmm.
and these glamorous pictures of these gorgeous women, and her head sheet, I thought, oh, perfect hair, perfect, yeah, the look, yeah, very American, wholesome, everything. And this skinny thing walks in the door, freckles, and and she was funny, and we just fell madly in love, because neither one of us, I mean, we're both just faking it to make it. She was 19, I think, and just straight from Florida, and doing her first modeling. She claims it was her first job. It wasn't, but she was just starting as a model. So we were pals, the way women are. It's like, you're my person, you're my
Right.
friend.
Yeah.
Okay. And we had all kinds of adventures, good, bad, and indifferent, together. And then I went back to North Carolina, and married and started having these kids, and she came back, and um, it went on and on, stories. So she saw all of the history, and I saw hers too.
Yeah.
And we're still being silly together, which
Good. That's good.
I love nothing more than sitting in her kitchen,
Hmm.
and she would sit in my kitchen more, except she doesn't like traveling up here, and I don't
Oh, yeah.
blame.
Are you in California? I'm assuming you're in California.
I am in
Okay.
California, but I'm very rural, agricultural
Oh, okay.
part. Yeah, which is, it's coast, but it's
Mm,
between San Francisco and the towns like Monterey that are
hmm.
south. And there's this in Santa Cruz, there's this kind of forgotten agricultural area. It's
Yeah.
redwoods and ranches and farms. Uh, People don't come here particularly. It's not
Right.
kind of the map. And
Yeah.
yet I'm 20 miles from Stanford.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
30 from San Francisco, but it's this little funny town
Yeah.
that time got.
Yeah.
Beautiful beaches. Come see
I
us.
bet.
It's really pretty. And so we're kind of in the middle of the food revolution here, which
Right.
I love, because I have lots of neighbors who are doing regenerative farming, and who
Yes.
are artisanal foods, fermented foods and things, which of course
Wow.
fit in so well to what I believe in and want to
Yeah.
preach with folks, because food should be fun and
Yes.
beautiful and simple.
Yes.
Simple like me.
Simple like you. I don't
Yeah.
think you're simple. You're fun though. You're definitely fun.
Well,
I,
I think food should always be a celebration, even if it's
yeah.
you and the sandwich. I mean, it,
Right.
I want you to feel good about it, all of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So somebody sees your cookbook. What are they going to find in your cookbook besides great recipes? The pictures are gorgeous. I love all the pictures about your life and how you just, talked about your journey, but what are people going to learn from your cookbook?
Thank you for asking.
Oh,
What I think they're going to learn is it's not hard.
right.
It's simple. Everything that I know how to do is basically how to put a meal on the table in 15 minutes.
Hmm.
Cheap, fast, yummy, no nonsense.
Yeah.
And I don't want to spend my life cooking. I don't want to spend my life cooking and cleaning up. So all of the things that I do are very, one pot, one pan, stick it in the fridge, take it out the next day, how to use your leftovers.
Right.
And I'm a big believer in opening up the fridge and using what you have.
Yeah.
Eat what you've got.
Sure.
Don't waste. a bite. And so, and with food prices, everyone's complaining, about how expensive it is. That's some stuff y'all need to start doing.
Right.
If you're doing it right now, is using the stems of your broccoli too. You know,
Mhm.
um, I I'm kind of a skinflint, is the truth. Sure. And anyone out there, if you're raising kids, whether it's by yourself or not, I mean, you kind of have to be.
Right.
It's pretty hard to function without really watching all your pennies.
Yeah.
So food does not have to be expensive to be yummy and beautiful.
Exactly.
And I know one example that I give in the book is a lovely little soup. Did you
Mhm.
were you
I
attracted?
looked through all the recipes. Soup, I could have soup every day. My husband doesn't like it every day, but I love soup. And so I've got your book here. I even bought the stuff to make one of your smoothies this morning, but I didn't have time. But I have it in my fridge. I love soup. I could eat it all the time.
Well, and people forget that soup, I've got the book here and I'm kind of thumbing through to remind myself of the things that I particularly like to talk about. Um, I mean, there's guacamole, there's all things that you're familiar with, but maybe you don't know how easy it is just to do it
Yeah.
yourself. Um,
And see,
and
that's the thing. I think that's one of the things that I just resonated a lot with what you talked about, but I was very fortunate to grow up in a family where all of the women were very good cooks and they all cooked all the time. So it's foreign to me to eat out all the time. Like even, when our kids were growing up, we would do that occasionally, but it was not that just wasn't normal. But not everybody's like that. I understand. Not everybody's like
especially
that.
now, especially
Yes.
now, young
Yeah.
families aren't used to eating at home.
Right.
They're used to eating in the back of the car,
Right.
uh, on their way to baseball or Mandarin or choir practice or something. And I mean, literally, I'm laughing about it, but it's literally true. People do not sit at the
Yeah.
table. And moms and dads, I also want to preach a bit here about what you're missing
Yeah.
when you're not sitting at the table. It's not just food. It is not
Oh,
just,
it's not even about the food.
no,
Yeah.
it's about everything that you get from your family, including your
Right.
siblings. Also, and I like to tell the story a little bit because it surprised me and it surprised my kids talk about this.
Mhm.
I realized that I had the sort of equivalent of a master's degree in marketing from having to listen to my father at the table every because he was an industrial marketing executive. And so that's what he talked about. And in the 50s, we all sat and listened.
Mhm.
And no, sir. And my mother adoringly looked at him and listened to everything he said. And as annoying as that was, and he was a sweetheart and he was a
Right.
lovely man, but I had to listen to that. So guess what? I learned it. When I went into
Right.
business, I had that whole background in industrial marketing, how you behaved in a meeting, what you never did, what you always wanted to do with a receptionist, all that little stuff
Yeah.
was in there and I didn't even appreciate it or realize it. And my children have said the same thing about because my social life when they were school age growing up had to be at my kitchen table. I would invite my clients and my work
Oh,
friends
yeah.
home and feed them. And they appreciated it. But
Yeah.
that meant that at the table with my children. Well, my kids learned how to conduct business in
Yeah.
a friendly way by having dinner
That's
at the
great.
table with
Yeah.
these folks. It wasn't fancy, it wasn't formal, waiting on us, but it was experience that they took out into the world. And they've now, all of them said, wow, I learned so much just sitting there at the
Yeah.
table with
Yeah.
you.
My favorite thing when I go stay with my daughter and my grandkids, is the conversation at the table. They sit at the table. The four of them have always sat at the table since the girls were babies to eat dinner. That's just what they do at their house. And the conversations and whenever I go, if I go spend the night, usually it's because my son-in-law's out of town and I just want to go hang out with all the girls. So we play games at the table. We talk about, I don't even know the name of the game. They pick a thing and we have to guess what it is. And we have to guess if it's a food or if it's a this, or just the conversation and hanging out and talking is what is so wonderful to me, the thing that I love. And you're right, people that is a foreign concept to them, actually sitting at the table, because they're always on the run, they're always on the go. They don't know what they're missing out by that.
You bring up an excellent point. There is no world peace. There is no art. There's nothing without a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
It all begins with a conversation,
Right.
not an argument, not a preaching, not
Right.
it all begins with people sitting in a kind and respectful way and learning how to exchange information
Right.
respectfully, politely, lovingly. That if you can only teach your kids one skill, maybe
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah. That's what I tell all of my guests, this is not an interview, this is a conversation. And that's what I want it to be: relaxed, laid back, just having conversation about whatever it is, whatever they're wanting to talk about. I loved your cookbook and I have recommended it to a lot of people, but I will be cooking from it because I do cook. I probably cook 5 nights a week. On Sundays, we have charcuterie board for supper. It's just my husband and I. So that's what we do. But
Watch that preserved meat.
yeah, we will. And I will say the only thing, I agree with everything you said, except the hardest thing for me is not the sugar. I can give up the sugar. I can give up a lot of things, but my half and half and my coffee, that is the hardest thing for me.
Just make better coffee.
Oh, well, I thought I was making good coffee.
Work on coffee, because really when your coffee is great, you don't
Yeah.
want anything dulling it down.
Oh,
Uh, yeah.
that's a
Um,
struggle.
and we can talk offline about this, but and there are, and you know what? If you absolutely have to have whole cream in your coffee, you go, but make sure that that comes from a college educated happy cow,
Yes.
some an emotionally well adjusted cow. I don't want you drinking anything
Yeah.
that comes from a cow in a horrible death camp situation
Right.
for reasons, because of the pollution, because of the
Yeah.
cow. I mean, and I know I'm sounding very California now, but it's a problem in the whole world that
Yeah.
we need to deal with.
Yeah.
These animals are a problem,
Yeah.
and who are raising them are a problem. And
Right.
so solidarity, support your neighbors who are raising animals in wholesome
Yes.
environments,
Yes.
feeding them, not polluting your neighborhood. And that goes for chickens.
Mm-hmm.
Also, people are not aware that the protein in goat milk and sheep's milk is different than the protein in cow's milk. And I bring that up because one of my kids, my youngest daughter, is a nurse practitioner,
Hmm.
and she's currently practicing, and she loves to call it butts and guts, GI. And incredibly, she loves it. I can't explain it, but there you go.
Right.
What she laughs with me about is the first thing she always asks people is, do you eat dairy from cows? You do? Okay, quit right now. And normally that solves a huge part of whatever problem they came in with.
Wow.
It is very often no more than a bad reaction to the protein in cow products.
Hmm.
So you can do a couple of things. That first of all, if you don't use feta cheese,
Mhm.
which is do, it's
We
fabulous.
love
It's
feta. Yeah, we love feta.
tasty and wonderful, and it's fine. And sliced goat cheese from Trader Joe's, it's great.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of things. But I'm with you. It's very hard. There's that creamy wonderfulness to a whole
Mhm.
cream out of a happy cow.
Right.
It's really good. If that's your only sin, okay,
Okay. You'll let me slide.
I will
I
let that go.
Yeah, I can't do sugar in my coffee. I can't do sweeteners or flavored I can't do any of that, but I do love my half and half. When I read that part, I was like, oh gosh, I'm gonna get
Yeah,
in
I
trouble
get
for that one.
it. They're coming out with new uh cream sort of
Yeah. Substitute
thing
sort of, yeah.
toots all the time, and I always
Yeah.
try and taste, and Trader Joe is great for carrying a lot of those things.
Love Trader Joe's.
My answer is I make really good coffee,
So tell me how
and
you make your really good coffee. Why is your coffee really good?
it's French press, it's
Yeah.
strong. I Trader Joe's Colombian normally. It's
Okay.
and I do the dark. I do a medium roast, so it's
Okay.
not too edgy. And then just find the strength that you let use good water, don't forget.
Right.
Um, and that does it for me. I'm a coffee fiend every morning.
Yeah, we love our
Oh,
coffee.
good teas. It's so much easier now to get really good teas. Don't forget that you can do that. And a thing, speaking of butts and guts,
Mhm.
a thing that I get very pushy about, especially now with people, is having fermented food every day.
Mhm. Yeah.
Something fermented every day. And if you haven't tried kimchi, for example,
Okay.
do you have kimchi in your fridge?
No.
Right? Um, Try it. Trader Joe's, a lot of places have it now. Whole Foods and those places. Um, I love the names of some of them. I have one in my fridge called Mother-in-Law's kimchi. But what it is just kind of sauerkraut, but chunkier
Yeah.
with a more interesting flavors in it and some
Mhm.
color. And here's a recipe I'm going to talk with you right now
Okay, tell
because
me.
I write it down. It's so easy.
Is
You
it in your
take
book?
no, not yet.
Okay.
Version. And you can get the book on audio.
Oh, okay.
I read it in Audible, and there's some new kind of updated stuff in there, and I need to do a new one because there are I mean, the book was essentially written 3 years ago, and you know what? I know so much more now.
Right. Right.
We all do.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I am now just madly in love with is kimchi.
Uh-huh.
And my favorite little meals is a great piece. I slice walnut sourdough bread, my
Okay.
favorites, or three seed bread, and toast it with a slice of goat cheese on each side of the
Mhm.
bread. And
Mm,
then I take some kimchi, squish any liquid out of it, cut it up a little bit because sometimes the pieces are bigger than you would expect in a sauerkraut kind of thing. And
yeah.
I put that between the two slices of bread with melted cheese, and you have a kim cheese sandwich.
Ham and cheese sandwich. I love sauerkraut. I love sauerkraut. So,
You can do the exact same thing with sauerkraut. It's
yeah,
delicious, but kimchi has a kind of a fresh, new, wonderful flavor and look. So try it.
I'm gonna look for that. I'm gonna do that.
And you know that I'm reading this stuff all the time, and
Yes.
especially and I like to say this out loud because it sounds weird to me, and it's kind of I'm 78 years old. What?
What?
That even happen?
I know that doesn't make any sense.
But here we are. And so there's a whole set of things that one does, or one must do at this age in
Yeah.
order to keep upright. I mean,
Right. Yeah.
you got to start paying some real good attention here to some stuff.
Yes.
And I want you to know that I'm now deadlifting 95 pounds.
Oh my goodness.
Um, and it's wonderful fun. I mean,
Yeah.
I have there's a little gym in town, 4 miles away, and my girlfriends are there with me, and my next door neighbor, in fact, and I have a private together on Tuesdays where we
Uh-huh.
do our heavy lifting, and we have a wonderful trainer, and I want that for everybody. And I know you
Yeah.
can't do it so well when your kids are small and so on, but now that I am a grandma,
Yeah.
um, I can do some of these things that weren't possible to do before. And one of them is I
Sure.
work at with a trainer 4 times a week.
That's
And
wonderful.
well, what I figure is pay now or pay later.
That's the truth. That is absolutely the truth.
Yeah. And there's
Yeah.
science behind that. So that's for
Yeah.
bone strength, which is a thing that we of a certain age worry about. I
Sure.
also use, and I'm going to throw this out there because I want you all to research it, know what it is, and know you can have it when you need it. And that's bioidentical, topically applied hormone replacement therapy.
That's a
You with me?
mouthful.
It is. It is. But I can tell you that because of my age, I've heard all this stuff all over the years about hormone replacement therapy and estrogen, and it causes cancer and it's not
Right.
good for you. Right? Bullshit, as I say in Texas. Can I say that?
Sure.
It's mostly based on a really lousy study that was done a number of years ago. And I'll make it short. Here's the deal. It's fine. And if you are premenopausal, menopausal, slightly postmenopausal, you know what I'm talking about. You need
Right.
some. You need help.
Yeah.
And there is very good help available now, a lot of different ways. You don't want to take it orally. You may not want to apply it to your nether regions, but if you use bioidentical, very
Mhm.
important, not from horse urine, this
Right.
is bioidentical estradiol and progesterone. You use it by applying it to your skin, and I mean, you have to do it every day, so
Yeah.
that's annoying, but like so many things. Um, and what's different is they didn't even talk about women over 65. Like, why would a woman over 65 care about her hormones? If I were a man, you'd know I would care about my hormones.
Right.
But you assume, because there weren't any women in medicine to
Yeah.
say, hey, wait a minute, why aren't we studying that? Why don't we get, well, I'll tell you what, women over 65, women over 75 care about their stupid hormones. We
Yeah.
care because of our bone strength, our bone health,
Hmm.
skin, because of our nether regions,
It affects everything. Our hormones affect everything. Yeah.
everything. So Granny here wants you to know you need to investigate that and know that that's available for you, regardless of where you are in the, sort of progression. Don't be afraid of it. Ask about it.
Yeah.
And if you have a doc who goes, oh, no, no, you didn't, get another doc.
Yeah. It's amazing what we can do now. It is definitely amazing.
Well,
Well,
yeah.
we've talked about all sorts of things that I wasn't expecting to talk about.
Did we talk enough about food? I mean,
To me, your book, it is excellent. The recipes are wonderful and I'm excited to make them, but it was so much more than food. I think it's so important what you talked about, creating that space for people to enjoy food, and yes, we want to eat delicious food, but it's not even about that. It's about, like you said, sitting at the table. It's about those conversations and learning about each other and what's going on and being able to be ourselves. I love it because that's my home. Like that's what I love in my home. I love having people here. We built a house 4 years ago. Our kids are grown and, we are hopefully settled. We're on family land. We've got lots of land and have a garden and, able to do things. But because our house is a pretty good size. And because of where we are, we've had all the holidays here, which is like my dream to be able to do that.
That your kids love that. Your friends love
Oh,
that.
yeah. We love
Yeah.
it. We love it. So I think that's why I loved your book so much, just because I resonated with so much of it. And so I'm glad that you reached out to me. I'm glad that I got to read it and I can recommend it to people, and I will definitely be cooking your recipes. So,
I mean, I'll take it a step further. To me, I feel that it's always a sacrament. It's communion.
oh yeah,
When together, it goes very, very deep.
sure.
And so it's health, it
Yeah.
involves your wealth in a way. We talked about this at the beginning of the show,
Yeah.
where you asked me why I wrote the book. And I don't want people going broke because they couldn't prevent a preventable disease because they didn't
Right.
have the solution. And if the information in the book is simple, it's not
Mhm.
long, it's not all about biological and what your cells do. It's simply how to eat to
Right.
stay healthy,
Yeah.
particularly if you have a chronic disease like mine, which is
Right.
diabetes, heart disease, so many have fatty liver. All these things can be prevented
Yeah.
if you just eat the way I tell you to.
Right. Just listen. Yes.
So yeah, that's it right there.
That's it. It really is simple. It's really simple. Well, thank you so much for talking to me today and for sharing all that you did. And I really have been looking forward to this, because reading your book, I laughed out loud a lot. This is
And that
awesome.
makes me so happy because we should be laughing at the table,
Yes. It's
right?
so
At
important. Yes. Yes.
hell. I mean,
Yes.
thing.
Yeah.
And the sad part about this is that, I'm going to have to say goodbye to you. And I don't get to Texas often. I used to.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, if you do,
but
you definitely have to let me know, because I would love to meet you. I would love that.
and come see me. I have a guest house. I can put you
Awesome.
up right,
Yeah.
yeah, in the redwoods because everyone should hug one of these trees once at least in their lives.
Yes. Yes.
So come and hug my trees. I have redwoods right on the place, ready for you
Oh,
to hug.
wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're
And we have
special.
pine trees like that. So we've got thousands on our property, probably. So yeah, we love our trees. We love them.
Lucky
Yeah.
you and lucky
Yeah.
me. We have trees
Love
and we
them.
cherish them
Hmm.
and love all the little stuff that goes under the dirt, the
Yes.
connections between the trees and then up in the canopy, the connections and it's the whole other
We love
thing.
it. Yeah, we love it. I'm spoiled out here. I say that all the time, but I love it. It's quiet and we have everything. It's wonderful.
Used to the quiet, don't you? And it's kind of hard then to go where it's not
It
quiet.
just makes me more appreciative of where I live when I go. My daughter lives in a city. Um, the city's not, well, I guess it is kind of big, but it's just loud. There's just people everywhere and it's loud. And we live out with, 4 family members out on 80 acres of land. And so it's very quiet and it's wonderful. We love it.
It's
We love it.
beautiful.
Yeah.
We
Well,
got
we will do what?
we've only got 3 acres here.
Oh,
Uh,
hey, any
but
land is wonderful.
yeah,
It's so important. Well, we
we
will
feel
keep
very
in touch. I will definitely keep in touch and keep
thank
you
you.
posted with all my, if my
Because
sourdough ever turns out.
thank you. What you're doing is wonderful. I am so impressed
Well,
and
thank you.
honored to be part of your guest list. You've had so many wonderful people on. It's been interesting and fun for me to go down the list and see what all these people are doing.
Yeah,
Uh, Thank you for featuring them and thank
sure.
them they do.
Yeah.
I'm just a crabby granny with the cookbooks.
You were fun. You were fun. Yeah.
And it's Lynne at lynnebowman.com. I love
Okay.
it when I hear from people who've used the book, and I
Sure.
like it when pictures of people's brownies and things. It's
Oh,
fun.
okay. Yes. When I do that, I will definitely send you a picture. I'll post it and tag you in it. Are you on Facebook? Are you on Facebook? Not really.
I'm not great about
Okay.
looking at Facebook anymore. The
Okay.
the way to get me for sure is to email me.
Okay. If they need to find you. Well, thank you, Lynn. I'm so excited to talk to you today. Um, I hope you have a wonderful
I'll
weekend.
tell Peter you were talking
Yes. Please tell her. Please tell her. I was really, I mean, I was like, I told my husband, she knows Marlena.
And she, I wish more people knew how funny she was.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
hilarious. She's just the best pal. Yeah,
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, yes, tell her I said hello. So
I
you,
will.
you have a wonderful weekend and I will talk to you soon.
Hey, thanks. Bye.
Okay. Bye.